Just who is allowed an opinion now, and just how destructive and sinister is the propaganda becoming. So that is today's video theme. And if you do like my videos, if you like my content, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified as soon as I upload a new video. So, quick update on the video that I did that was deleted, that was censored by YouTube. My appeal was turned down, so they've upheld their original decision. So, obviously very, very disappointing, and it demonstrates to me that I'm clearly doing something right. I think the best quote to sum up what censorship means is this one by George R.R. Martin, and he says, "When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar, you are demonstrating to the world that you are afraid of what he may say." That is why censorship is necessary, to protect interests and to ensure that the storyline and the narrative that the powers that be want to be the storyline and the narrative that is made accessible to the masses, they must censor alternative views. Joseph Goebbels, the right minister of propaganda, he also remarked on this as well. I mean, he was the overseer of the Nazi propaganda machine, the architect, the organiser, and the brains behind it. And even he knew that at some point the lie would start to make itself become apparent as more and more and more members of the public started to question things. At which point, he says, that is when censorship is then necessary, i.e. anybody who may be influencing the public and imparting information in a way that may make the public start questioning what the state is saying, or in the case now, what big tech is allowing the state and authoritarian forces to say, well, those people then need to be silenced. And I'm not the only one. I follow someone on YouTube, Alex Belfield. I think he has over 200,000 subscribers. Now, just before I say, he says himself, it's not YouTube that's censored his videos. But there is something dark going on. He's been sabotaged in some way. Something deeply sinister has happened. I mean, you can go on his channel and see what he says about it himself. He's not allowed to say exactly what it is. He's got his solicitors involved. But something's happened. He's clearly been threatened and he's been sabotaged in some really, really dark and sinister way. And I think the spirit of our times is one of threat and censorship. And I think there's a lot of people who are, let's call them, speakers of truth, who are increasingly being seen as the enemy now. And increasingly, they are anyone who deviates even slightly from the party line, from the line that is being relentlessly drummed into the population every single day. We saw it with the most powerful man in the world. If you believe the president of the USA is the most powerful man in the world, actually, which I don't, but nevertheless a very powerful man, Donald Trump, who was censored from Twitter and other social media platforms for allegedly inciting hate speech, when, as far as I can see, he explicitly called for peace. Yet this is the world in which we now live in, where everything seems to be subverted. So, yes, censorship. It's a strange feeling, actually, to operate from a place of wanting to try to draw attention to some nefarious and malevolent forces, and to draw other people's attention to them, and to try to wake them up to the fact that what they are being told may not be the whole truth. fact, they may be getting subject to some reprehensible lies. So trying to do good and being silenced because of that. Like I say, I'm not the only one. And this is affecting more and more and more people. What it does demonstrate is we no longer live in a world where free speech is, well, acceptable now. Because there are more and more examples of people, individuals being silenced. If you don't have the correct opinion, you're a threat, you're a danger, and you must be silenced. And this is exceptionally sinister. And of course, what do you always have in a society that goes down the route of eliminating free speech? Well, you also have, side by side with that, propaganda. And I don't know whether anyone's heard the latest radio advert from the government. Please listen to it. I mean, actually listen to it. Listen carefully to what they're saying. And then sit back and think, is this the United Kingdom? Is this really happening in the United Kingdom? An alleged bastion of liberalism, free speech and democracy. A country where governments don't terrorise their citizens. Listen to the words, please. I think it lasts about 30 seconds. It ends with the line, if you bend the rules, people will die. It's terrifying. So, propaganda. I think it's important to remember that I'll take as an example when it comes to propaganda and ideological messaging. There's a newspaper that I read, but that I absolutely despise. I read it, because actually I think the quality of writing is brilliant, probably the best. But I also read it because I see the editorial stance and the ideological position of the newspaper as deeply malevolent. The newspaper I'm talking about is The Guardian. It is a rancid, reprehensible purveyor of hate, illiberalism and division, despite purporting and portraying itself as the opposite of those characteristics. And for the last few years, when I've read it, I've thought it's led more and more and more towards a position of patronising, sneering and spitefulness. And I've thought, God, good job that the influence of this paper is only relatively small. And I've come to the position that it's not. I've come to the conclusion that propaganda, it's almost like we've been told this and missold this terrible lie. We voted in a Conservative government with an 80-seat majority, thinking that we live in a society which has conservative leanings, a society which cherishes concepts such as patriotism, free speech, the family, love of country, and the economy. Yet here we are, living in a world where we have socialism, we have threats to free speech, we have protests made illegal, we have mass propaganda, and one where the far left have infiltrated absolutely everything. The media, politics, academia, the celebrity world, and their message now is the message. And the silent majority really do need to realise what's going on here. The way that society has been socially re-engineered already as a result of this disgusting, repugnant propaganda built on mistruths, on deception, fear. We now live in a world where if we want to question the narrative, we're at risk of being silenced. If we want to protest what we're being told, we're at risk of being arrested. And if we want to make a stand against rules which we see as tyrannical and inhumane, we risk being vilified. So I want to say to anybody out there who is taking a stand in any way, in the name of free speech, in the name of freedom, and in the name of democracy, keep on doing it, because this is a war. This is a war against the very values that we always thought defined us, and against the very values that most people aren't fighting for, unfortunately, and that most people are allowing dark forces to remove from us without even so much as a whimper. Let's see whether this video is allowed to stand. I will keep speaking my truth. When I see a world and a society so far removed now from what I remembered it once being, a society that resembles those ones that I've read about and watched documentaries about, ones that we were so grateful that we didn't have in our own country. I'm talking about ones that have existed under tyrannical authoritarian government rule, where citizens don't have free speech and freedom, and where there is no democracy. So for anyone who's fighting against it, more power to you. There's not many of us. But the reason the censorship is getting worse is because, as I said at the start, more people are starting to cotton on to the fact that something not quite right now. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous for the powers that be. So it all makes sense. And all we can do is carry on speaking as we see. Speaking our truth. Being honest. Being brave. So yeah. Be brave. Seek truth. Speak truth. That's the only way that this developing and sinister nightmare is going to start to come to an end. It takes everyone. Everyone. Open your eyes. Seek truth. Speak truth. Be brave. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.